Good morning. Today we are continuing to work with those angles. We are doing CO52. I can identify complementary or supplementary angles. So in order to do that, we need to know what those words mean. Some of us that were working on our Khan Academy, we have a good understanding of the complementary and supplementary. Some of us skipped it because we knew we were going to get it explained today. But this is part of our Khan Academy assignments. Complementary angles are two angles that sum to be 90 degrees. When we see the word sum, what operation is that? Adding. So we need to be able to add two angles together that will equal 90 degrees. If they don't equal 90 degrees when we add them, they are not complementary. To give examples of complementary angles, we could do it two different ways. We could show that right angle, that's 90 degrees, and we could show it split up into a 30-degree angle, or a 60-degree angle, a 70-degree angle, a 20-degree angle, split up into two angles. So that 90 degrees is split into two angles that equal 90 degrees. Doesn't matter what size measurements you put, as long as they equal 90. So it could be 38 and 52 degrees, all right? As long as when we add them together, they equal 90. Sometimes those angles will be adjacent, where they share a line. Sometimes they're just going to be off to the side. So I could have a 20 degrees and I could have 70 degrees. They're not connected next to each other, but if I add them together, they will equal 90 degrees. So you could have them adjacent, or you could have them separate, as long as you add them and they equal 90. How are we feeling about complementary angles? So we need to remember, complementary is 90. So now let's look at what supplementary is. Any guess as to what supplementary angles will be? What do you think, Emma? Yeah, two angles that sum to be 180 degrees. Now remember that 180 degrees is that straight angle. So a straight line. And it's going to be two angles. Or if I draw my line, I could have 140 degrees and 40 degrees. Doesn't matter when we draw that line what our 2 degrees are, as long as they sum to be 180. So if you're going to show me that you understand supplementary angles, you're going to give me two angle measurements that equal 180. And you're going to be thinking to yourself, if it's an obtuse angle, that angle has to be greater than 90 degrees. If it's an acute angle, it has to be less than 90 degrees. So make sure when you are putting angle measurements, we don't need to use a protractor and make it exact, but we can give a good guess, right? This would be 140 degrees, it wouldn't be 70 degrees, because it's bigger than that right angle. Just like with complementary angles, they do not need to be attached. They don't have to have that adjacent side, so we could have 20 degrees and we could have, oops. So we could have that 20 degrees, we could have 160 degrees. As long as the 2 degrees equal 180 when we add them. You're labeling your acute and your obtuse correctly. So we wouldn't want to give the 20 degrees to an obtuse angle. So complementary is 90 degrees, supplementary is 180. So when we make our help sheets, you're going to want to put those words on the help sheet and put what the angle degree is going to be, because that's something that kids oftentimes will flip, and they'll accidentally do 90 degrees for supplementary. So when we do the help sheet, we really want to make sure we know complementary is 90 degrees, supplementary is 180 degrees. So our work for today is looking at those diagrams and answering the questions. We've got A, B, C, and D. Which ones show complementary angles? You add two of them together and you get 90 degrees. There could be just one answer. There could be more than one answer. So second question, which diagrams show supplementary angles? Again, it could be one answer, it could be more than one. Put down the letters of the diagrams that show 90-degree angles and the ones that show 180 supplementary angles. And if we look at the bottom, draw and label each angle's complement, if applicable, and supplement. So what does it mean, if applicable? When wouldn't it have a complementary angle? When wouldn't it have a complementary angle? Lila?
When it's more than 90.
When it's already more than 90 degrees. So something like 161 degrees is not going to have a complementary angle because it's already too big. So you're just going to put the supplementary angle. If it has that acute angle, you're going to put both. So what would this angle be that would make it complementary? And then what would this angle be that would make it supplementary? So for this one, you're going to have to give me two angle measurements. One for that to make it 180 degrees and one for the 90 degrees. So some of them you have to give two angle measurements. Some of them you just give the one if it's already bigger than 90 degrees. Any questions on today's math? You can definitely use a calculator, yes. You do not need a protractor because it's all math now. Adding to make 90 degrees, adding to make 180 degrees. So we don't need the protractor for this lesson. Any other questions? All right, go ahead and get to work. When you are finished work on Khan Academy, work on math packet number 9. If you are watching at home, I hope you are well. I hope you have a wonderful day.